If you take the top 3 landlords, the next 2 tiers of portfolios, you're looking at about 60% of the Class A inventory and about 45% of all direct available space is controlled only by 3 landlords in downtown Los Angeles. Now this oligopoly, as it were, has allowed landlords in a market typified with no appreciable demand for office space, a 0 net absorption, to actually over the last 12 months push rates by approximately 10%. The legal sector comprises about 33 to 35% of the occupied space within the Class A sector of downtown Los Angeles. And the competitive nature of the legal business is such that, in Southern California, is such that there's incredible pressure on firm profit. And as we all know, the second largest category in a law firm's expense section of their income statement is occupancy costs, so it's caused them to make a shift in how they're approaching the use of office space, and we've seen that directly in downtown Los Angeles. An example of which is a law firm I represented about 5 years ago, an AM 200, whose firm-wide design metric was 650 feet per attorney. Well, this last summer they modified that to 550 feet per attorney and are headed in the direction of a one-size-fits-all design for all offices throughout the country. Now that's an interesting set of numbers, but we really have to look at it in context. What's that really mean? If you look at downtown Los Angeles, the Class A sector, 140 full floors are occupied by law firms. But interestingly, 83 of those 140 floors have a use metric in excess of 1,000 square feet per attorney. So if we take the old metric of 650 feet and look at those 83 floors, that translates into 29 surplus floors of phantom space. And the new metric turns it into 37 floors. So arguably we have anywhere from 625 to about 850,000 square feet of space that's being used and paid for by law firms but not used. And that represents something like 4%, as much as 4% of the whole market. In the Central Business District, we predict that it's going to be one of the most interesting arenas of all of the Southern California commercial real estate markets. We're going to see a stagnant demand in the Central Business District. We believe in increased vacancy as these 83 floors are rolling over and firms contract. And we're also going to see the landlords in the high-quality buildings continue to attempt to push rates because they simply can. The result is it's a perfect time for a tenant to be in the marketplace, whether you're a law firm, an insurance company, or a bank. And success is going to be had by those firms that design an aggressive real estate plan, get in the market early, give themselves a flexible, patient schedule, and adhere to their real estate strategy. Where we've seen one size fits all for the law firms is typically in environments and markets where the real estate expenses are very, very high. Places like London and some of the markets in Australia where rates can get as high as $100 a square foot. What you're looking at in Southern California is space has been almost looked as an entitlement. And relatively speaking to other markets where these larger law firms are located, space in Southern California is relatively inexpensive. Half of what you'd be paying in Chicago or a half of what you'd be paying in New York City, for example. So I think what we're going to see is some of the firms adopt, because it blends better with their corporate culture, to have a one-size-fits-all. But really where I think you're going to start saving space is the elimination of libraries and internal filing, where some of the firms have rather large interior areas that are dedicated towards filing. Well, we're seeing a lot of our law firm clients convert to digital storage, and now we're looking at these large floor plates where we've got to figure out what we're going to put on the inside. So what I would predict is that you're going to start looking for alternative uses on the interior areas. You'll maintain a 2-size office, one for associate, one for partner, but you'll start seeing some of the junior associates get moved to interior areas with maybe glass walls so that they have some light coming in, and it makes them feel a little more as part of the firm, and they're not closed off into dungeony areas. whether it's a tight market or whether it's a vacant market with a lot of vacancies, you really have to sit down and plot out a strategy, an aggressive real estate strategy. Give yourself sufficient time so that you could use the schedule to your advantage and stick with the strategy. And you have to be very patient. You have to be patient in these things. Don't try to do it too quickly.